What's up, guys? Welcome back to Curious Chaos. You guys can call me Crimson, and you guys already saw the thumbnail. No need for all the talking. I'm redesigning Pokemon that you all told me were the ugliest when I asked on Instagram. Here are the 4 I've selected: Ambipom, Seismitoad, Magmortar, and Scovillain. Now, this kind of hurts because if you don't already know, Scovillain quickly became one of my top favorite Pokemon of all time with the release of Scarlet and Violet. And with this video as proof, it's no question that Scovillain is almost unanimously disliked by the community. So having to redesign it is really hard on my soul. But I'll still try my best, of course. Now, let me preface this by saying that I don't consider these Pokemon ugly in terms of having a bad design, nor am I trying to put down the original artists. If you can't already tell, these artists are my primary inspiration and I hold their design to a very high standard. And this is all just for fun, so don't get mad at me in the comments like last time. If I end up screwing the design even more with my rendition, then by all means go tell me how dookie I made them look. That's alright, I don't care about that. I just don't want people thinking I'm hating on these or any Pokemon. These 4 are actually some of my favorite Pokemon, and as you've already heard, Scovillain is probably my top favorite Pokemon, probably right after Glyspot. But okay, enough jibber jabber. Let's start off the video by trying to redesign our boy Ambipom. Okay, so it's pretty well known that Ambipom's pre-evolution Apom is considered a cute Pokemon, or at least not considered ugly by fans. But the main issue folks have with it is that when it evolves, it randomly gets huge red highlights on its fingertips, which kind of grosses people out. Some say it looks like they get swollen, some say they look like pimples, and I gotta say, those are pretty valid assessments. The other issue fans have is with its face, specifically the nose and its weird Edgar Bolka thing it's got going on. So I'll try to fix those problems, but my personal nitpicks I have with the design is that it doesn't change all that much from Apom. And that's fine, I don't always want a huge change from one evolution to another. But for a redesign, I don't really want to just draw Ambipom without its nose and red fingertips. So I'm going to try at least to bring something new to its concept so it has a little bit more going for it rather than just a bigger Apom with an extra tail. So I dove a little into Ambipom's inspirations and dex entries, and I found out that for a majority of the time, Ambipom mainly uses its tail arms for everything, almost to the point of rendering its real arms weak and useless. So if its real arms are weak, its tail arms should be pretty strong if they're used so often. And so I thought I'd beef up those noodle arms and make them look pretty intimidating. Now I know Ambipom isn't a fighting type, but I thought having its arms be thicker would be a little more realistic. I also try to demonstrate its reliance on its tail by posing it with its booty face towards us, showing that it'd feel more comfortable throwing up its tail arms rather than its real arms when confronted by an opponent. And apart from all this, I wanted to add just a little bit more fur to break up all the purple it has, and further bring out its inspirations like the Aztec Ahuizot, mostly known as a canine with handtail, but is mostly depicted as a monkey or a mix of both. And so I thought it'd be pretty cool to make Ambipom a bit creepier and mischievous looking with crazy spiky hair. What are your guys' thoughts on this version of Ambipom? I know there isn't any crazy diversions from the OG Ambipom, but again, I like these Pokemon, so I don't think there's all that much to change about them. So I'll just keep things subtle for this one. Also, my friend suggested to add an eye pattern on Ambipom's back as a way to ward off enemies, and I think it looks good. I know usually people think that having fake eyes to mess with people's minds would either make it a psychic or evil type Pokemon, but there are plenty of Pokemon that have this trait without having any of those typings, so as much as this rendition may look evil or psychic or whatever, I think a mischievous monkey is a pretty normal thing. Alright, on to Seismitoad. Quite honestly, there's not really much to work with Seismitoad, but contrary to Ambipom, I really managed to make a drastic redesign with this one. And for this I looked at a couple of things. The theme of the line, which is a sound-based frog, and the issues people have with this line, which are its bubble warts that look kind of gross, and the unfortunate placing of the bubbles on its forehead that give it a weird butt cheek look. And lastly, the fact that it has the ground typing that many people, including myself, forget it even has. So I looked at its base stage Timble and realized it has super cool Beats by Dre headphones, and I decided to evolve that idea. I'm going to turn these headphones into a full-blown boombox speaker system thingy, as I feel like this would be a bit more realistic. Not that I think toads look like speakers, but realistic in how toads will create waves with the vibrations of their croaks during mating season. So I added some pretty cool looking bubble sound waves. So boom, that knocks out 2 birds with 1 stone, the lack of concept Seismitoad's design has, and also turning its ugly warts into something that looks cool. Now the only thing that I gotta cover is its ground typing. And man, this was actually harder than I thought. I tried a couple different colors and patterns that could emphasize the ground typing, but it all ended up looking tacked on and sort of lazy. So this is where I found a bit more appreciation for Seismitoad's original design. A lot of people forget it has the ground typing because it's not explicitly obvious upon first glance. Rather, it showcases this through the ability it has, which is using sound vibrations to control the ground and create earthquakes. And that I can respect. I kind of think it's even cooler now that you wouldn't guess it was a ground type. So I pretty much left Seismitoad's colors as it is. I just hope the speaker motif can be a bit easier to visualize Seismitoad shaking up the ground with big ol' 808s and beat drops. I really want to hear what you guys think of this redesign, since it's the one that I personally think changes the most from the original. And I'm genuinely interested to hear if you think that it's cool or if it's just straight dookie. Oh, also, I was messing around with the shiny and it came up with this brown and green one, which would fix the issue of the whole ground typing not being obvious, but I gave it the colors of its original shiny and I think it looks a lot better. So I wasn't really going to change it, but I thought it'd be cool to show y'all anyway. Alright, Magmortar is up next, and I'll be honest, I freaking love this dude, but I definitely don't love that mouth. Hold on, pause, please pause. And that is actually the biggest problem of this Pokemon according to fans. And they're not wrong, I'll just be for real. Other than that, I'm not too much of a fan of its flame painted Easter egg looking body, so I'm going to try to bring a solution to that. I start by diving into the Pokemon's primary inspiration, as always, and according to Bulbapedia, Magmortar's line is actually based on a booby. The bird. Which is cool because they have blue features, like their beak and feet are a really nice vibrant blue. And instantly I knew where I was going to go with this redesign. And yup, as you might have guessed, I'm going to be making Magmortar and his flames blue. Because I, for one, think more Pokemon should have blue flames. And it shouldn't all just go to Mega Charizard X. Anyway, what else am I ruining about Magmortar? Well, I also found out that it's based on a yokai called the Kurara. This is Crimson from the future, and I realized that I was saying the word Kurara wrong the whole time. It's actually not even that, it's Karura. So, yeah, just ignore all the times I say Kurara the next couple of seconds. It's essentially a huge divine beastman with a bird-like head that can breathe fire. I was heavily studying the designs of both the Kurara and Magmortar and finally settled on an idea of how to fix some of the issues people have with the Pokemon. Firstly, I redesigned its face to have more of a yokai mask look similar to the Kurara, and this is where I decided to bring forth an aspect of the Magmortar line that kind of gets neglected and which fans might have questioned its existence of. That being the black steel seen on every single stage of the line. I can specifically remember being like 10 years old and looking at my Pokemon card of Magmar and wondering why it had those metal bands around its neck and ankles. I mean, I thought they looked cool as hell, but I just never knew why they were supposed to be there, if that makes sense. So I wanted to use them more in its design. That's where I decided to add it to the face mask, along with leaning into the armor of the Kurara yokai and giving Magmortar a samurai steel plated armor. I put some on the arms as well as a callback to the frills Magmar has on its arms, so this seems like a good progression to have between the two. I was also really inspired by the depictions of the yokai's hair and integrated them into Magmortar, with most of them having man buns and hair flaring out the sides. And yup, I added a black steel band to the hair as well, because it's cool. I guess apart from all that, I gave its stomach a pattern that's more congruent with the belly patterns of Magby and Magmar, and oh yeah, I fixed its ugly mouth to have a proper duckbill. This redesign was probably the one I had the most fun on because I was really digging the idea of making Magmortar a bit more yokai looking, and I think it looks cool. But I of course want to hear what your thoughts on it are, and if you're digging the samurai armor and the blue flames as much as I am. Here's how I think it would look with its original shiny colors, and now moving on to the last Pokemon, and my favorite Pokemon. Okay, you know how this goes by now. We're looking at everything that Scovillain is based on. Red hot chili peppers, and I guess that's pretty much it. No, I'm playing, but the only other real inspiration I can think of would be the villain part of its name, which is exactly what I'm going to focus on. Now, I've seen a lot of redesigns for Scovillain because, trust me, it gets redesigned all the time because of how ugly people think it is. Which all I gotta say about is, don't listen to them, Scovillain. They're just haters. But most of the redesigns I see, it turns Scovillain into a more prehistoric dinosaur monster, and I think it looks cool as hell, but I want to try avoiding that and leaning into the villainy aspects mentioned earlier. And I've also seen some people do that too, but I want to try my hand on turning this guy into what I think it would look like as a villain. I noticed its heads have a red angry face and the other is a green happy-er face, and I'm sure they're based on the theater masks, which is a really neat concept to build upon. So I started brainstorming villain and theater masks. I decided to go with an evil jester villain that would just be very expressive and whimsical, with a vibe I'm trying to go for akin to villains like Hisoka, the Joker and Harley Quinn, Buggy the Clown, and even underrated villains like Bon Voyage. Y'all sleeping on my boy Bon Voyage. He's cool as hell and barely got any screen time. But anyway, that's the vibe I'm going for. I'm trying to be a little goofy with this design, so I make its neck stems twist around each other, which shows some funny conflict between the two heads. And gave them each a long hat that is supposed to look like those court jester hats with bells on the ends, but in this case, since there's two heads, I just split the hat into two and changed the bell into flame balls since I want to add some fire to the design. As for its body, I tried my best to give it Joker clothes without it looking too unnatural, and I managed to cleverly use peppers as shoes to mimic the goofy, pointy jester shoes. Some of my favorite villains are the ones with character personalities of a jester or evil magician, so I'm extremely happy with this redesign of Scovillain, only because I could really imagine it being a funny character to watch if it were in a show. Like, I could probably see it juggling fireballs or something cool like that. But yeah, this was my take on trying to ruin my favorite Pokemon's design. Let me know what you think of it and if I, in some way, made you appreciate the Scovillain line a bit more. Also, a lot of people don't like its real shiny. You know, the one where he's swagged out in a Ralph Lauren yellow sweater, paired with the denim Amiri jeans. A look that the only other person that can pull it off is Arthur. Yeah, that one. A lot of people hate on Scovillain's drip because they know they can't look as swaggy as him. So I decided to make a shiny that the majority of people would want. A purple and yellow combo of peppers and orange for the green parts as a sort of autumn variant. And of course, blue flames because it's cool. Here are the redesigns. Please let me know what you think of all of them. Which was your favorite, which was your least favorite. And while you're at it, let me know some ugly Pokemon you think would be cool to see me redesign. I'll pick some of the most unique ones I see in the comments and include them in my next video, so please do share. I hope you all enjoyed these redesigns, and I thank you greatly if you made it this far into the video. This is a secret, but I'm going to be releasing a new series I've been working on soon. It's actually going to be the next video after this one, so please keep your eye out for that, and I promise it is going to be super entertaining. So I hope to see you all there. Insert mandatory subscribe, like, and share voice line here, and that's all from me, guys. Until next time.